Why do all videos start with a rhetorical question? I guess not all videos, but a lot of mine recently have. But why stop at a good thing? Have you ever felt completely, totally lost? Like you're just wandering through life with no clear direction, no map, no idea where you're supposed to even go? It's frustrating, it's exhausting, and honestly, it's kind of terrifying. That lost feeling is something most of us go through at some point, especially when we're at a crossroads or trying to figure out what comes next. I know for me, it was graduating with my bachelor's degree. I finally had my college degree, but I didn't have any clue on what that was actually going to mean and what that was actually going to do for me, to be honest. I didn't have a job idea. I really just got my degree to get my degree. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through why we kind of feel this way, and more importantly, hopefully give you some tips on how to break out of that feeling of lost. And to make it a little bit more fun, I'm going to tie it into one of my favorite video game series of all time, Zelda, specifically focusing on some of the most recent entries, that being Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So grab your paraglider and let's get into it. Let's start with kind of the first topic. We feel lost. We don't know where we're going. We're unclear of what we actually want out of life. Imagine starting Breath of the Wild for the very first time, but all of the intro cutscenes are gone. There's no King Rome, no NPCs, no hints, and you've never played a Zelda game before. You're dropped into this massive open world, but you have no objective, no storyline, no princess to save. At first, you probably might enjoy the freedom. You know, I remember graduating from college and thinking, finally, I don't have to stay up till 11:55 in order to turn my essay in. I no longer have to wait for the rest of my group to do the rest of their projects so that we can finally turn our assignment in. It was kind of freeing, to be honest. I could just go to work, come home, do whatever I wanted at home, go back to work the next day, and then come home, and then go back to work, and then come home, and then you kind of get the idea. It just kind of circled over and over again, where it was just go to work, go home, go to work, go home. There wasn't really any clear direction. Initially, kind of the fresh open world is kind of amazing. There's so many things to do, so many things to explore, but then it can almost feel a little overwhelming. What do I do? Where do I go? I mean, what even is the point of all of this? That's exactly how life can feel when you don't have a vision or direction. Ken Coleman from Ramsey Solutions talks about this in his book, From Paycheck to Purpose. I think I did a podcast episode on it a while back. I think the audio version is up, so if you want to check that out, you can on the channel. But the first thing he recommends is getting clear. We need to spend time figuring out what exactly our mission is, what matters to us, what drives us. So here's a few quick prompts to try to help you clarify your direction in life. What are the moments when you feel the most alive? You know, those moments where time just kind of slips away and just continues to flow and pass. You're not so worried about what's going to happen next. It's more so you're just enjoying what you're doing in the moment. Where do you find those moments, and what are you doing when you're entering that flow state? What problems in the world do you actually deeply care about? And think a lot about how you spend your time. We ultimately kind of determine who we are where we spend our time. And I would encourage you to kind of think outside of just pure entertainment. There's so many things on our phones, laptops, TVs that are kind of always going for our entertainment. And believe me, when I'm watching a good movie, time kind of slips away and I enter that flow state. But what about things outside of just those? What things do you spend your time on? You can spend the next week kind of doing a little log about where you spend your time. Your phone will kind of show you how much time you spend on your phone. I know I get my notification every Sunday while I'm sitting in church. So hopefully if you can see where you spend your time, you can kind of see what is most important to you. A third prompt, if money and time weren't an issue, what would you be doing right now? Now this is a very broad question and it can take a little bit of time to kind of sort it all out. But in actuality, there's probably several things that you could find yourself doing, and I'd recommend jotting down each of them over this next week to try to figure that out. So when you kind of get a rough idea of what matters to you, it's kind of like someone finally turned on the quest marker. You can see the beacon of where you're actually supposed to be going. You understand that probably the kingdom is in peril, if we go back to our analogy, and someone has to make the journey to save the princess. Now that the king is actually there and you get a little bit of a motivational speech from him, it has a lot more meaning and understanding when we actually know where we want to go. So a second reason we might feel lost is because we don't really know where we are. We kind of lack a self-awareness and a realistic view of our current situation. So let's kind of go back into Breath of the Wild again. I like my video games. I like my video game analogies. So you figured out that there's a castle somewhere and a princess to save. Awesome. But you haven't found a single tower yet. Your map is completely blank and the compass has been removed. You have no sense of where you are. And, you know, just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's say we're throwing in Pokemon Gen 1 mechanics and you forgot the HM Flash. So not only do you not know where you are, you also can't really see anything that clearly, and so you really don't have anything to go off of. Every step around just kind of feels like you're wandering in a circle rather than leading you to the castle. This is what it feels like when we kind of skip the step of self-reflection. If we want to make progress, we kind of have to take a mental inventory. So ask yourself, what skills do you actually have? What have you learned and where have you applied them in your life? This could be from previous jobs or experiences, maybe volunteering, service, and even schoolwork. What things have you enjoyed and where have you actually applied them? And if you haven't learned what you actually want to go into yet, that's totally fine. We have a world of information at our fingertips on our phones and with access to the internet. You can spend the next few weeks or months learning about the field you're interested in, diving into those topics and figuring out how to apply them. I know coding for me has been something that I've been interested in, so just trying to do little things daily. We're on Code Academy, which is a free service, brilliant.org, where you can start learning about computer science and programming and whatnot. Kind of dive into those topics and find what you actually want to do and learn about it. Even if you don't have the skills or applications or even credentials necessary now, you can spend the next few weeks and months figuring that out. One little word of caution, don't spend so much time planning and researching. Kind of get out there and start making those connections, meeting and talking with people who may be in the field that you're interested in, and making real progress and steps towards your goals. What's something you want to do better at, and what's something you maybe should take a closer look at and maybe cut out altogether. You don't have to have all the answers right away. You just need to kind of find your first tower. You need to start taking a mental inventory and figuring out where you are and how to kind of get from point A to point B. Ask trusted friends for feedback. A lot of times they can pick up on things that maybe we haven't noticed ourselves in our lives. I know when I've interviewed people on this show, I've kind of pointed out common threads in their career paths that have kind of led them to where they are. And they hadn't noticed it before, but now that I pointed it out, they were able to see that. You could even take a career or a personality assessment. Anything that helps you light up just a small portion of the map to help you kind of find your bearings. As you do, patterns kind of start to emerge. You begin to connect the dots and recognize where you actually are. And then it makes choosing your next step so much easier. So probably the number 3 reason as to why we feel lost is because we know where we are, we know where we want to go, but we have absolutely no clue on how to get there. You've got the vision, you know where you are currently, but man, how do you even possibly get from where you are to where you want to be? Take another example from Tears of the Kingdom. When you're starting on that Sky Island, you need to know how to get to Hyrule. I mean, you see it down below, you know how you're supposed to get there, but you don't actually have the ability to build anything yet. You have no way to make a hovercraft, no Ultra Hand. You're just stuck pacing in circles. Heck, even jumping off the map hasn't gotten you to where you want. And I know you tried it at the start, because I definitely tried it a couple of times. In life, this looks like analysis paralysis. You want to start a new career or maybe even build something meaningful, but you don't know the right way to start. So you kind of freeze up. You continue researching and planning and never actually take that first step. So here's the secret on how you break out of that. You don't need to know the whole path at the beginning. You just need to take the next small step. Ali Abdaal calls this starting before you're even ready. It might feel awkward or messy, but that's okay. Most paths aren't straight lines. They're kind of zigzags all over the place. They circle around, loop in on themselves. Honestly, you can go look at some of the earliest videos from some of the most popular YouTubers and see the difference. Maybe the audio isn't as good as it is now. Maybe the video quality isn't there. Maybe there's no editing at all. The camera might be a bit grainy, but it kind of started them off on the right path and they continued trudging along toward the castle and their goal. So maybe your YouTube videos get no views. Your first resume gets rejected. Your first client project falls apart. Your first business you start ultimately has no sales. But every action gives you some data. Every failure is just progress in disguise. Build those fail stacks. The more you accumulate, the more little nuggets of success you gain. And as you start to build, you start to unlock new tools. You earn your Ultra Hand. And eventually, you can build something amazing to get off the island and into the next chapter of your life. Free to roam around and work towards whatever you want to get out of life. So if you're feeling lost right now, know this. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just at the beginning of your new adventure. Like in every Zelda game, your journey starts kind of in the confusion. It starts with wandering around, starts with having no idea what's going on. But little by little, you gain a little clarity, some self-awareness, and the courage to move. And the world kind of starts to open up to you. So, quick recap, just to kind of tie everything up. Step 1, get clear on your vision. What really matters to you? Step 2, figure out where you are right now. What are your strengths, weaknesses, resources, roadblocks? What things do you struggle with and what things do you want to achieve? And step 3, take a small step forward. Even if you don't feel ready, heck, especially if you don't feel ready. Start working towards those things. Start figuring it out as you go along. Sometimes the goal that you're moving on is also a moving target. It changes as we change. But the fact that we're making progress towards it means we'll probably hit it eventually. You're not lost. You're just on your way. So thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you've got a story about feeling lost or finding your way, drop it off in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, the quest might look different for everyone, but the courage to take the first step, that's the same for all of us. See you guys in the next one. I'll catch you guys later.